Hello, it's Laurie, or BlockchainBrad, and today an exclusive interview with the CEO of KardiaChain. His name is Pham, and he's here for an exclusive update on all that the team at Kardia have been doing of late. Now, why are we doing this? It's all about providing transparent information for all of us in the crypto community. This is not sponsored. There is no payment at all that I receive. However, for full disclosure, two things. Firstly, I am invested in Kai, and secondly, there may be a small donation provided for the editing. And to explain what that means that I personally pay an editor, and KardiaChain may support that small donation for that, not for me. So I just want to clarify that. Now, KardiaChain is the focus right now as an update tree, and thank you for being here to make sure that we get as much information from the source. Let's start with the information that we see right across crypto, and that is that you allege or ascertain that you are a hybrid blockchain infrastructure for enterprise and governments, especially in Vietnam and in Southeast Asia. So can you just touch on that claim for a moment and how it relates to everything you've been building, especially in Vietnam?
Okay, so firstly, I want to make a clarification about the hybrid blockchain infrastructure. If if any of you haven't read it in depth yet, so why we call it hybrid? Because the Kadiachain core technology is the dual node technology that we offer the cross-chain communication between any public blockchain and private blockchain. So based on that technology, we provide a solution for enterprise and for government bodies to have their own private blockchain in order to operate, to store data efficiently, also securely, and using Kadiachain cross-chain technology to publish anything that they want transparency. They want to offer transparency to the user, to customer, to the people, to any public blockchain, for example, Kadiachain, Ethereum, or Neo, Tron. So that's why we call it a hybrid blockchain.
Yes, and we're going to dig into exactly what that means with a small reference to the tech stack. And later, as we discussed pre-interview, I will talk to the CTO. But with all of the buzz right now with enterprise, especially given that we see a lot of the initiatives come forth for public blockchain and for permissionless blockchain initiatives to bridge the gap and bring mainstream businesses into the blockchain, this is all the more reason why I did want to do this update with you, to be honest. So let's dig into this a bit more. Now, enterprise and governments are referenced as well. You've explained, very succinctly what the hybrid aspect is, and again, we'll touch on that. But what about the reference to governments? How does that fit in the context of what you're building, especially given that you really don't have any competitors in Vietnam, as I understand, with the start that you have there?
Yeah. So for government, there's we explore the option. We explore the opportunity to work with Vietnam government back in 2018, actually. So the first contact with the government is in September 2018, when we have an invitation to go back. At that time, our team still based in the UK and the US. So we went back to Vietnam and joined a forum of Minister of Justice that they want to explore the legal framework and how the blockchain application will change the society, and also the legal aspect of all the application. So we participated, and we have a presentation. Also, we demo our decentralized exchange prototype at that time. So after that, we have a lot of interest coming from different government department, for example, Ministry of Justice, also the Da Nang Smart City, also from Ho Chi Minh City, where my hometown is, and also so just give the context of how we get the interest from the government initially, and then we work a lot with them. So in three areas generally. First is to consult on the legal framework and policy, which they have been working since the last 2 years actively.
And is that the government? Just to interrupt there, is that the government working on some of that regulatory aspects and the policy?
Yeah, the Ministry of Justice.
Okay.
That I personally joined several of the forum. I give speech there with the high level, the highest level management of the Ministry of Justice, to get them the better and correct understanding between blockchain, cryptocurrency, utility token. So they base on that, and they are working on a what is the word? Like experimental. I mean the framework, the experimental framework, like sandbox.
I see. Yes.
Yeah, they call correct a sandbox. So that idea initially is I get from my partner in Korea, that they have sandboxing in Busan city. So that in that city they have like free regulation for blockchain, for cryptocurrency, for token, and then that what is the Vietnam government is working on, sandboxing in a region in Vietnam.
Yes,
that's not like rolled out yet, but they're working on it.
And
so it's also like available on the internet.
Right. And Tree, I do want to get into that with you, because obviously places like Singapore, places like Vietnam, and I'm going to mention a few other regions in the world, they are all looking at that sandbox approach, or that sandboxing approach. And certainly there are pro-blockchain aspects to the way in which they're moving. And that's also why we've talked before, to be honest, is that Vietnam was clearly a hub in Southeast Asia for blockchain innovation, and the number of devs there was also very strong. So let's talk a moment with the team. Now, with the team, I had a look. There's pretty much the same people, as I understand, as when we last spoke some years ago, or a year, I suspect. But with regard to this, there is a range of expertise, as mentioned, right from business, yourself particularly, all the way through to what you call tech leads, which obviously are important. But what I did want to ask you is, if anyone wants to go and find information about those core members, they can. But what about those beyond listed on that website as the main team? Do you also have devs behind the scenes also supporting Kadiachain to strengthen the team?
Let me repeat the question. So the question is about like if like the whole team is listed on the website.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. So it's not, and we are trying to get the whole team on the website, so as many as possible, because like we have around 20 staff, 20 member of the team, and not everybody is listed on the website yet. And I personally got quite a few questions about that as well. Right. So we're updating the content for that. Yeah,
that's good to know, because when we spoke last, it was clear that there are other developers well and truly involved in the process of Kadiachain.
Yes,
and obviously the community do want to have those updates. But if they'd like to know more about what is disclosed, it is all there, and I have read into that. Now, if we can talk a little bit more with regard to some of the claims as well, and I do apologise if there is some audio. I can notice that as well. I don't know why that is. But one of the things that's stated is the Cardi approach is partnering with existing service providers. Now, we've referenced the government. What I wanted to do is talk a little bit more about enterprise, because there's a lot of major enterprise partnerships that you are forging and have forged already in Vietnam.
Yes. So the question is about like what is the current partnership or
right? Current, past, and even if you want to touch on some of the prospective partners.
Oh yeah, okay, okay.
But most importantly, discussing enterprise, big business, corporate, that aspect, because we touched on the government.
Okay, beautiful. So so about enterprise, the way we are looking for partner is that the partner, the enterprise must be like the prominent player or the market leader in their specific industry. for example, when we work with the VTV cable, they are the top national TV in Vietnam, and they have a lot of support over sport and the sport channel. So that's why we partner with them, because we want to partner with the business that already have a large user base, and we want that user base not overlap each other. So so that optimize our reach, our coverage over the Vietnam population. And so that the TV channel I'm talking about, we work with some telco as well, like telecom company in Vietnam. But I cannot disclose the name yet, because they prefer to that will be disclosed when the service is available.
I see, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I have made notes about the telecom reference, or the telco reference. And in that context, and please continue on also discussing enterprise connections, but what about the aspects of compliance as well? Have you made sure that with the government and the enterprise work you're doing, that all of this is compliant, especially given that the government connections are so strong between yourselves and what's happening in Vietnam?
So that also the major concern when the enterprise working with blockchain and also it bond token. But fortunately, the Kadiachain token is in line with the regulation here in Vietnam, and with the upcoming policy, which will be transparently available on the internet as well before it's become the law. So you can also check. And I think it's becoming one of the the Communist Party Congress in the next few months. So hopefully we will get a better view of the policy in Vietnam.
I see.
But for the token, get back to the compliance. So it's compliant with the regulation now, and we try my best to make sure it will comply with the upcoming policy as well.
Right.
So
And I wanted to ask you on that note, have you had a chance to have a look at the drafts of that policy? Because obviously you do have connections with the government directly, or are you involved in some of that policy making for blockchain and for utility tokens especially?
No, the draft is strictly confidential. So so basically no one have a look at the draft yet. But when it's proposed to the Congress, it will be available.
I see.
So,
And the reason I ask is because it's clear that in some regions of the world, they're more progressive or they're more advanced in the process of accepting the movement of blockchain into the enterprise arena. And as you know, the US is quite slow in comparison. So do you think that you are positioned in one of the best regions of the world right now to lead out pro-enterprise blockchain-based initiatives and business?
Yes. Yeah, I do think so. And because Vietnam at the moment we really look into the government really want to leverage the new technology and to attract more people and more opportunity to get more development.
Right, makes a lot of sense. Now, some other claims I want to talk to you about is something along the lines of the world's first fully interoperable and non-invasive blockchain platform. That's been a slogan of yours for a while. It states that you're starting with Vietnam, moving across to Southeast Asia more broadly. And you mentioned your hometown of Ho Chi Minh City. And what's interesting is that's regarded as somewhat of a Silicon Valley for the region as well. So do you feel confident in these kinds of claims that Kadiachain are making? Because they're quite significant.
You mean the claim about the slogan, right?
Right.
Yes. So it is the first when when we came up with a design, and also for now until now I don't see any major player in the blockchain space. They're doing the non-invasive connection. So I believe that it's still the same.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So you're still confident in exactly what your mission was at the beginning. Now, one of the things you're talking about before is enterprise. And in that context, we hear a lot of discussion right now in 2020 about private versus public and also permission versus permissionless. And I'm sure you're aware of that. And there's a lot of bridging technology, even to the point where there's suggestions of Ethereum working this way in some context for enterprise. Now, what are your thoughts on that, given that you're already ahead of the game in bringing and bridging those worlds of enterprise and blockchain and welding them together? Are you going to incorporate private sectors, private business and private blockchain into what you're doing? Or is your focus solely and wholly that public chain and bringing in enterprise that way?
We also focus in the private chain as well. That's also but I'm not really focused our the main resources into the private blockchain. That's why we did a collaboration with LG CNS, because they already have their own private chain solution developed. They also working on some of the working on the application layer, which is the blockchain ID and community money. That's what they call, and a certificate issue kind of thing for the application layer. And what we do in that partnership is that we bring the LG CNS solution into Vietnam. We connect it to Kadiachain, to other public blockchain, and we use the expertise from LG CNS to in order to better provide better solution for enterprise in Vietnam. So the thing I want to the point I want to make here is that the technology alone it cannot be it is one sell itself. You need to bundle it into a product, to a package. So that's why for what I'm working on right now is that I'm trying to get more business know-how from different industry, how to apply blockchain into that. What is the pain point that that blockchain and also tokenization can offer the specific business. I spent the last year 2019 working with a lot of many business and enterprise, and I had to admit that 90% of that it failed. So I wasted a lot of my time working, talking, exploring opportunity, making prototype with many businesses in Vietnam. And that just is to find the product market fit for the blockchain technology and for tokenization. I'm confident now that we find a path to move forward, and we will apply and expand the model that we already find out.
I see. And it's good to hear that kind of transparency, to be honest with you, Tree, because very few CEOs are going to concede or admit that those kinds of things, that it was experimental, you're trying to seek market fit where perhaps it didn't actually, wasn't the right moment, the right time. But all that experience you've built, without trying to infer any sort of FOMO or hype, the reality is that what I've read so far this year about you is that you're focused on that real adoption, that real use case, and trying to find that market fit. So let's dig in a little bit more. But before we do, what are your thoughts on all the references to DeFi? And we know it's a very, very prominent narrative right now. From what I understand, you would also very much fit the bill of hybrid CeFi as well, because you're looking at that bridging technology to really vivify the enterprise space and bring it alive with blockchain. So what are your thoughts on all that talk of DeFi when you're actually trying to bring business to blockchain?
The DeFi is a very interesting topic, and I'm not really in depth into that at the moment, but I have several partners that they already working on P2P lending in Vietnam. In Vietnam, P2P lending, or financing, personal financing, microfinance, and that kind of stuff. And they are looking at blockchain technology because I see it's lack of transparency, it's lack of trust in that space. But yeah, but my approach right now is that we don't want to like work on some initiative alone, but rather we find a really good partner, like I mentioned before. It must be a prominent player in that industry.
Yes, and we're going to talk about that.
Yeah,
we're definitely going to touch on those major players and hopefully dig into some of the ones you don't want to tell me about. Now, let's talk about the tech upgrades. Now, as I mentioned before, we're not going to go deep into the tech today because you're the CEO, you're business savvy, and the CTO will dig deeper. But let's just touch on some key aspects. Firstly, the dual nodes. That's a big development, and it's developing further with things like Neo to Kai, ETH to Kai. Do you want to just touch on that with relation to cross-chain capacity and even the interoperable algorithms that are built in as well, because these are innovations and you are building essentially that key interoperability to make all of the business possible. So can you touch?
Can you repeat the question?
So the question is, can you just touch on the importance of the dual node structure, having that ability to have that cross-chain capacity?
So I think that common knowledge at the moment already, but yeah, I will talk about that for a while. So so the do not is the way we want to decentralize the cross-chain communication, and that the approach that we want to make sure only the proof is on chain, like 100% on chain, from for example from Ethereum to Kadiachain. So the do node is actually a node that join two networks at the same time, and so it can get update from Ether, put it on a Kadiachain, and in return it can get update from a Kadiachain and put it on Ether. So that one do node and we join a group of do node that also connect Ethereum and Kadiachain. And between those Ether, Kadia, do node, they have a consensus among them to decentralize on the update.
I see, and that's the key point.
I hope that
yeah. I mean, you made it clear that looking at even that multi-node approach is really just increasing the decentralized aspect of your core architecture. Now, in that, the elastic sharding, that's interesting because once again, you're adding in a common narrative that's really coming up right now. A lot of discussion about that, especially with regard to the interoperability of it. Do you want to just touch on that as well in connection with the cross-chain design?
Yeah, so so that is actually a mechanism allow a do node to switch from one network to another. So when the demand increase for specific blockchain, for example, for Ethereum, and there is not enough like do node in that group in order to support, or maybe not enough like staking in that do node group in order to secure on the value that's transferring between Ethereum and then Kadia. So the mechanism will incentivize by providing more reward, and for the node in that support Ethereum Kadia chain connection. So it will attract and allow like other do node switching to in order to join that group to support the communication.
I see. So it increases capacity through multiple chains as well. Now, moving across from sort of the deep discussions of tech, and obviously we'll do that more with the CTO, I wanted to ask about the GitHub activity, about the kind of transparency, the open source nature. How open source is it? How much work's actually being really done, especially if someone wanted to go into the GitHub right now?
So the way we are doing is a practice that we inherited from Google, is the cut release practice. So what you're seeing right now in the public repo on GitHub is the release that we are like cut. That means we comfortable and we confident with that release. So we cut it and release it publicly. Meanwhile, we work on another branch in the background. So when it is like pass on the test, we will cut and release it again. Yeah.
Okay, so you only release when you're confident that the code is quality and it goes out to the GitHub. With regard to the roadmap, can you just touch on that for a moment? Because my understanding is MainNet is Q4, and it's all transparent. I had a look at your roadmap. But do you want to just touch on that in the context of more development that's happening behind the scenes? Obviously, as you've mentioned, not all of it's released. You're constantly building with your team. So how does that fit in with the MainNet plans?
So we are trying our best to make sure the MainNet is a match with the expectation. But right now we are focused more on our technical resources into building and doing collaboration with other business partners. So a lot of tech support is going on. We need to involve into some of the application building for all our partners as well. And yeah, it takes a lot of like stress on our tech team at the moment. We're looking to expanding the team, but yeah, it's not like you can do it in one day.
Sure. And Tree, with your experience, I mean, I think a lot of people would like to know this. Why would you go and try and forge these key partnerships with all of the enterprises? And you clearly are, and we'll discuss this in more detail. But why would you do that prior to establishing a very robust mainnet that's operational? Is it easy to do that in that order?
Yes, because I think we need to like do in parallel. So you develop your tech in the background, but you need to work on the business as well, because you never know what you are doing is fit with the market. So you need to constantly like do reality check. So is it what we're doing is like is make sense in the business wise, or are you just building a cool like tech, and then when you release it, nobody use it?
Yeah, and I really like that approach you're taking. It's actually quite rare that you start to see all this preliminary work done for real users. And that's a great segue into the next point. One of the statements that's made in a recent AMA was that someone in the AMA, it may have been you or someone else, said that Kadiachain reaches millions of users without immense cost of educating the market. And I just wanted to ask you if you could explain that a bit more, because it does reference millions of users. And I was wondering, is that perspective or is that current? Because again, that user base is so important to what you're doing.
Yeah. So the million of users that we're talking about is it not in the sense that right now we have like million of token holder. So that's the difference. So for now we have like over 200,000 users that use our product application services that we're working with our partner. So the number the user number is in that sense. And the second thing is about the education, the market education. So the way we want it is that they use our token without the blockchain knowledge. Yeah, that what we trying to do, because it really hard to educate anyone, and it's costly.
And it's the perfect scenario. And just to jump in there, having spoken to so many CEOs, that's the reason why I think it took a little while to work this out for yourselves and many other teams, because really it's about that seamless, almost invisible layer of blockchain underneath for the user. They don't need to know. So now it's a case of trying to find that seamless connection with enterprise. So that all comes down to the products. And that's what I really wanted to touch on with you, is to allow the community to really understand the depths of the products that you do have and how they are so user focused. Yeah. So a good example is the product app we are currently piloting with the youth union in Vietnam. And we're focusing on the younger generation
from 16 to 22. Actually, is high school and university student. And the way we do is that the youth union is a government body, so they have a lot of activity to attract young people, to guide them. Like for example, they can do like volunteering activity. They want to do something like to educate themselves, like join some class to learn some soft skill, to join, to participate in some community supporting event, that kind of thing. But the way they are communicating with their members, the young people, it's not catching up with the how to say the reality. They still really traditional on that. They use like paper. They go to school and to give speech. They post it in the like the material billboard, that kind of thing. So it's not work out. Yeah.
Right, and that's a new partnership as well. I did read that release recently with it was a student union, I think, and there was a reference to about 60,000 users. Is that right? Because and what was surprising is that's the starting number, I would think.
Yeah. So 60,000 user is just for the member, the total member in the District 5 of the Ho Chi Minh City. Yeah. That's where I'm growing, where I grow up. Yeah,
and that's just the starting point. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it's just a starting point. So we are piloting, and the beta launch is for a 60,000 member. So and they don't they just briefly know that the app use blockchain technology. Yes. They don't really know like what is blockchain and stuff like that. They don't even know the work token yet.
Right. So they don't need a masterclass on blockchain to be able to benefit from blockchain.
They just know that it's like some incentive point.
Right.
That's what like So they just participate. They get some like reward, and that's it. They can exchange the point with like other member. Maybe there's a big reward that attracts some people, and they're trying to get more point from some of his friends.
Right, and that's where the utility comes in, and we have to talk about that through the interview as well, and that experimentation of the reward mechanism, and most importantly, that seamless interaction for young people. The more that the youth interact with this, the better. But let's bring it back to those core products and the apps, because that one you mentioned there was a new one, but there are some of those mainstay points related to on-sports, mobile payment and smart city, all very important, and with some big partnerships there. So can we touch on those in order? So let's start with on-sports. We've referenced them in the last interview, but I want to find out more about this and how real it is, how whether or not the uptake is real, and how the tokens used in these contexts to be real applications for real world use.
So for on-sport, the first thing I want to talk about is the negative impact from the pandemic. That is cancel out on the sport event and on the tournament kind of thing. Is it really unfortunate? So that's why the progress on pushing out on sport get delayed.
Is that because of COVID at the moment?
Yeah, the COVID.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because like no football match.
Yeah.
So there's nothing to watch on sport. Yeah. And but the main token utility is for voting. It's for voting, polling, like some of the the award for like the best player of the year, like the best football team of the year. You can use the token to poll that, to vote for that, also for prediction game.
And that's in the context of VTV or cable and other networks, I assume. So let's say, for example, that, well, obviously, eventually the COVID problem right around the world, the pandemic that we've seen will eventually subside, we hope.
Yeah.
And in that sense, we'll see an influx in more uptake and more interest. What kind of user base are we talking about? What kind of scope in the on-sport sort of aspect of your design are we talking? in terms of potential, in terms of people engaging and voting using Kai?
Okay. So for now, the on-spot already have close to 200,000 registered users. So they have a quite a big user base, a potential user base, because they have their own Facebook page that they have over 800,000 followers already. They have the like 4 million subscribers to their TV channel, so that the potential user base. For the last time that we doing the voting inside the app, is each of the match we see around 300 voter. So it's alone it's just a semi-pro league. So we see like around 300 at the time.
But it's a great pilot, you know, as well, for the potential to broaden this into other areas or even other sports. So given that we have spoken about this before, and unfortunately with the situation now globally, are you confident that this can really grow just in this one aspect of your product suite?
So for on-spot, the product is actually like finished, like it's complete. At the moment, it just wait for the roll now, and and then right now we just have it there, and we wait for the marketing and media campaign from the TV channel. That's for on-spot at the moment, and also we shifted to e-sport because of the COVID-19. So we realized that we need to quickly shift our focus to another one.
Sure, and what's
because
great,
we don't know.
Yeah, and what's great is that you are conversing and partnering with these different networks to make sure that the word spreads of what you're trying to do. So congratulations for integrating into the enterprise world and into the networks as well. Now let's move it down to the mobile payment for a moment. Firstly, I want to ask you what your thoughts are on criticisms in the blockchain space or in the crypto space about using tokens for payment. The reason I ask is because there's controversy in the space about should they be for payment, should they be for a different kind of utility based on the engineering of blockchain. This is a big deal though, because the scope of your mobile payment plans and the channel is very big and far reaching. So I'd love to know your thoughts on this.
Just for your note, the mobile payment channel that we're working on is not actually like using the token to pay. So
well, that's good.
Just one, because at the moment the law not allowing that. The only like they still want Vietnam Dong to be the only payment method in Vietnam. Right. I think that applies to most of the countries.
I would totally agree. So how does it relate to Kai then? Like just
so there are two aspects from that. So the first thing is we want the payment channel is the gateway for non-crypto people to join the blockchain world. You know, in Vietnam, there's I think close to 80% of the population, they don't have a bank account. So it's really difficult for them to actually buy anything like online. But most of the people have mobile phone and they have mobile account, like mobile account balance. So the mobile channel, mobile payment channel that we're working with telco company, that's allow people to use their mobile balance to pay for things.
Right, and that's an on-ramp. That works as an on-ramp into Kadiachain, no doubt.
Yes.
And that's smart. Now, can you just give us some hints? Because I know you don't want to tell me the name, but how big is this telco that you are working with? Is it the national one?
Yes, it's national one.
Okay, so that's, you know, as big as it gets. Now, what's the plan? Let's say I'm one of those young people that don't have a bank account. I use the on-ramp. I use the gateway into the facility and the application, the mobile payment system. What then? You know, how do I then make the switch into Kadiachain and to Kai?
Yeah. So the basic idea is that they when they register the wallet, like the Kadiachain wallet, they can use any of the application. For example, OnSpot and the Youth Union application, they already have their wallet in, and they already have their mobile number connect to that application. So when they make a purchase inside the app, is automatically top up the Kai in their account.
That's really smart, because it's the wallet connection to the mobile payment system that's the first step into the other product suite that you offer. So it opens up, a whole spectrum of possibility for uptake of Kai. Now that leads into another part of this, and that's the medical data for the smart city plan. Is that what's happening there with regard to developments in the smart city sense? Is that still happening? That expanding?
Yeah. So the smart city development, the first pilot and prototype we work with them is for the like the student record on blockchain. It get a bit like slow down because of the scope. We try too many things. We try to do too many things at the same time. So that also one of the my experience and one of my lessons. So we try to do like as first we try to do certificate issuance, and then the platform just get bigger and bigger. We like really thinking like they want to organize on the student information. And then they want to organize on the like activity in school and everything. Is the platform just get bigger, so so it really slow down the development. And the way we are fixing it is that you can see in the Youth Union app, because when the user want to get the reward, they have to fill in all of their information. So eventually that become the ID, and then we can just then they can just use the ID for like for their school as well. We could link up with the school, and then when they get any like certificate and record, we could just map them into that.
And those DIDs, those decentralized identification processes, they're built in, I noticed, to a lot of the things that you're addressing and working on. Now, are you confident that each of these products, and even those coming, are going to continue to enable both Kai and Kadiachain as the ecosystem and infrastructure to grow? Are you confident that there's already proof empirically that you're developing and you're growing?
Yeah, one of my concern right now, and as my my focus is that to make sure that on the product and the upcoming partnership, anything we work on, they need to be interlinked. We need to be like pushing to one direction only. It's not like we trying to spread out our resources, like doing too many things at the same time. That the lesson I mentioned. So right now we want everything to be connected, even the user base and the focus. Like each of the product will fulfill, like it's like a piece, a puzzle piece that they need to fit into.
And you're taking a pragmatic approach once again. You made that clear. Now let's talk about some of the other partnerships that you've referenced or the team has recently. Things like the Hi Wallet and the Uniswap and the Veet connections for things like liquidity, like decentralized exchanges, even for sharding and high speed with Veet, and also just more generally with access to a wallet with the Hi Wallet. So in relation to these developments and these partnerships, once again, many would argue that these are in the right direction. You're moving more towards forging key developments for real purpose.
So what is the question again?
So the question is just touching on those, referencing those three. So the Hi Wallet, the Uniswap and Veet, just in terms of developments you've made and the purposes that they serve.
So these are actually for Uniswap, because there's a lot of like recommendation suggestion from the community. So we decided to provide more liquidity, some liquidity for Uniswap. So that's it for Uniswap. And for the other wallet that we do want to have a wallet solution for our user, to easy, because not everyone is using that kind of app like on Spot or the Youth Union app, and they need to have to store the kind in some kind of wallet, and also it will be great if the wallet offers some of the function. For example, they to convert them into like Vietnam dong, like fiat money that they can actually use for some utility.
Yeah, so obviously that seamless use. Now with Veet, I know the team quite well. They have their own DAG approach. They're focusing on high scalability, high performance. But I also noticed, those strong Asian connections with regard to enterprise, with regard to blockchain initiatives and startups. Veet is sort of a crossbreed. It's based in China and in the US. So what was the context there? What's the value add in doing that, the partnership?
For Vibe at the moment, I cannot disclose more on the Vibe partnership at the moment.
Okay, all right. Well, I appreciate that, and I respect it. So it's interesting, that you have these developments. Obviously, in due time, you'll disclose more of that Veet to Kadiachain initiative development partnership. Now, one of the things I wanted to discuss more was partners themselves. Obviously, it's something that's used as a hype tactic. That's not my intention here, Tree. But we have the likes of the partners of Matic, Certic, Veet, as mentioned, Band, Morpheus Labs. Very interesting one right now, because obviously they're going for enterprise as well. They're looking at their own blockchain as service system, core technology, tech stack, and suite. And you've got other significant partners that are not so much blockchain based, but more enterprise focused, and they're all up on your website. But I just wanted to touch on distinguishing between those blockchain partners and those that are not, just in sort of 2 reference points from you.
I will repeat the question. So it's about like why we are choosing different like blockchain partner and non-blockchain partner.
And if you can just reference them, explain a little bit about what they mean and how real are these partnerships. Only because in the space we see a lot of superficial partnerships for hype's sake.
Okay, I see. So for Band protocol, we are doing like we need a blind fit for some of the data for our application, for example, on Spot. Need to get like input for the like the match result in some Spot app, and also like the how to say the like the betting ratio.
The betting ratio.
So that so that the for Band and what else?
So you have Matic, Certic, Veet, Band Protocol, Morpheus Labs. They're all well known at the moment for different reasons.
So
and especially Morpheus Labs.
Let me quickly touch on that. So Morpheus Lab is we actually partner with them since last year, and we the first is that they offer a really cool like solution for developer to like testing on different blockchain.
Basically they're an integration suite, and it gives you the whole all the options.
That's true. So that the base that why we are going with Morpheus Lab.
Right.
We need to get more developer.
So I wanted to ask you in that context, was there a lot of due diligence in the process of each of these partnerships? Because it is so important to those people listening in, I think, that they hear or they're reassured that this wasn't just a case of let's quickly team up so that we can, infer to the public that there's value there.
So you can see most of the partner is like it takes really long time to materialize, and some partnership is quite old actually. So it's not like for example for LG CNS we actually signed the MOU since in November last year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember really, like October or November last year is already. So that's where we signed the MOU, but we are not making any hype like right after, because the thing is it between us as and LG as well, that they don't really want to like announce something that not really have any progress.
Yes.
So after we signed MOU, we did a lot of back and forth technical discussion, also on the business side, on how to bring their solution to Vietnam, to a different project in Vietnam, and how to integrate like Kadiachain into their solution in Korea. That kind of thing, and then the COVID-19 hit us, and LG need to delay it because the team cannot come to Vietnam, and yeah, that's the main reason.
And Tri, I really appreciate your transparency there. I mean, this just shows how legitimate you are being with the public, or just honest, because once again, and I do want to talk at length about the LG and other partnerships in the context not just of Vietnam, but there is interrelationships with Korea, because we're talking about real business here. And if they're wanting to come to Vietnam, if there's that dialogue and those interactions, that's only got to be, affirmation or reassurance that you are all endeavoring to do real business. Now, before we talk about that though, I wanted to touch on just the broader suite of enterprise partners that you have, all the way from Contentos to Geleximco. I'm probably
Geleximco,
IDC, Beatus, IDC Group. I won't mention them all, but people can go and look at them all. But I just wanted to really understand from you, what is the context of these enterprise partnerships? And are you also including more soon? Because as a CEO, you would know more than anyone about the enterprise gear and what's happening.
Yeah. So if you take a look at the enterprise partnership, so the first is that you can see our focus on the sport and especially the football community. So you can see like VFF with football. So VFF is the VFF is the pro football organization. And the with football is the semi amateur football association. So and then on sport VTV Cap is their own focus on that. BTS is one of the BTS is the largest shoe manufacturer in Vietnam, and they are offering like football shoes. And and you can see the Kadiachain futsal is our team actually. No, it's my team actually. Yeah.
Right. So, and what's interesting too is that you've gone for a sport that's the national sport. So it's been quite strategic in that sense. And then if you move across to Southeast Asia, we know from the World Cup, for example, not to again suggest any FOMO, but we see the likes of other blockchain startups like Chili's, for example, with their focus in Spain and the football clubs there. And it lends itself also to what you're doing in this aspect, in this product, because you're looking for that market fit. Now, the question is, once you establish these key connections, this core utility, do you plan on also looking at how this can fit beyond Vietnam even? Because the fact that football is prominent and it's a growing sport globally and in Asia.
Yes, that I did think about it, but it's not really my focus at the moment, because I would like to think big, but start small. So we need to take the step here, and we have a vision, a bigger vision, but we would like to see things like clearer when we move forward.
Right. It makes sense to make sure that you really hit the nail on the head for each of the steps, so that you can essentially expand successfully. Now, let's talk about some of these big names with regard to Vietnam and Kadiachain. They are the LG CNS, Geleximco. I want to talk more about that, and the telecom partnership. Those three I really want to touch on. So let's start with Samsung's connection with LG and what you can tell us about Korea, Samsung, LG, and Kadiachain.
So Samsung is the question. I think what I can tell about that is there's like competitor. Samsung LG is a competitor in the Korea market.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think Samsung they acquire a lot of market share in blockchain space actually, and it's also one of the reason the reason why LG is looking to go out of Korea and tap into some developing market. Yeah.
Right. So was the case that LG chose you, or was it reciprocal where you both chose each other? Because in the research, I noticed that newspapers were referenced as well in this context. So I was just wondering if you could elaborate a bit more on LG specifically and how that partnership evolved and just how important it is as a key partnership for 2020.
So for LG, we not actually reaching out or either so the reason why we met each other is that from one of my partner in Korea that somehow he's he got into some conversation with the people from LG. He mentioned there's this kind of project, they do that cool like cross-chain technology, and then LG said that it really is really cool, and then we got in contact and we share our repo on GitHub. They go do a lot of like code review and like some technical seminar between the two teams, and they did also visit our office in Vietnam. And then they invited over to go to their office in Seoul, and only after that we signed the MOU.
Wow, so that was a pretty long process. I mean, that must have taken.
It's a really long process, and that's something I think I need to mention as well, because many people ask me like why there's like just 1-2 photo like taken at partnership. So the thing is, LG really strict with their image. Like they when you go into their office, you cannot use your mobile phone to take photo. Like they have a little red tab to tap on your camera.
Right.
And all of the photo they take themselves, and they only release to us actually some of the best photo in their opinion.
Yes.
So that's why
that actually makes a lot of sense. Having talked to Morpheus Labs, who happens to be a partner with you, they had the same issue actually with some of the key partnerships they'd forged. Yeah. And so there's a lot of protection and reputational, risk, I suppose, built into media. So they're very, very protective of that. So thank you for disclosing that and letting us know why that happened, because the people obviously who support Kadiachain wanted to know that. Now with LG, let's just break this down. Firstly, it's legitimate. You've made that clear, that partnership. Some of the things are referenced as to what that partnership's about are things like the DID, the decentralized identification, certificate issuance, and even references to the smart city there. So what I really want to ask you is, what is the fundamental crux of this relationship with LG? And there's also references of large-scale application in relation to this. So can you just expand a bit more on what this could actually mean for Kadiachain, given that LG is a big player in Korea? It's not a small deal.
So is it is the question is about the like how
potential and exactly what you're doing?
Yeah. So
maybe we can start with what you're doing.
To talk with what we are doing in the moment, because I think I already mentioned it. Yeah. So so what we do in the moment is that we bring the LG private blockchain solution, the MainNet chain, and some of their application layer into like Vietnam enterprise and into Vietnam market. Is will help them to expand their market in the region. So that the one is from outside, and from LG, they explore how to like actually white label the Kadiachain technology to have their own like solution to work in to help them compete in their local market.
Right.
So that the two things we work at the moment, and of course there is some potential on the e-sport as well, because like my not just LG but my other partner in Korea, for example, like BlockCrafter, they because Korea is already the most developed country for e-sport. Like you can see a lot of like pro player like and tournament there, and they are looking to replicate that success into other market like Thailand or Vietnam. So the way they do that is they are connecting a lot of different player in the industry in order to have the more complete ecosystem for the e-sport, from organizing, from like sponsorship, from like community activity, like managing the team, and all the like underlying technology for that.
Right,
and blockchain is one of the key. Yeah.
And if BlockCrafters, if that's the name of the other, some of the key partners you have, if they have experience there in Korea, they obviously are bringing that asset into the arena for you to make this even more plausible and possible. Now, the other question in that frame was also the scope, the scale of the LG partnership, because you mentioned that there's that cross collaboration, that cross potential with products and with LG. But what else is it going to mean beyond that? Beyond even on sports, when you clearly are forging still this key partnership right now and working through this despite COVID happening?
So you mean the scope of the LG partnership?
Yeah.
In terms of like
in terms of products, in terms of enterprise, just in terms of more broadly the potential, because what it sounds like from what you're saying is that LG taps into the key products you offer, and there's expertise on both sides that, really work well. So what's the potential, do you think, in the future as the CEO with LG on board with Kadiachain?
So for now, we just talk about the potential in Vietnam. That what I'm really have the confidence in. So because in Korean market it depend on LG to touch on different like client and stuff like that. But in Vietnam, so firstly for the smart city will be the experimental in Da Nang. That's one of the like the more progressive city that they actively working on smart city. So it will be in there for the smart city, and again it's a government project, so it's there was something is not under my control.
Got it.
But for different thing is like e-sport. E-sport will be like the nationwide the scope. So because right now I already accumulate enough like partner and support from the e-sport community. Like most of the team from different games like League of Legends, or the Arena Valor or PUBG, that kind of thing. I think I believe I accumulate enough player in e-sport space in order to make it big, the nationwide project.
Well, that's a big deal, considering the scope and the kind of reach it's going to have for Kadiachain and for Kai. Now let's move across to Geleximco. I can never pronounce that correctly.
Geleximco, yeah.
Geleximco, my apologies. Now, one of the things that's referenced is the 2.2 billion sort of integrated or involved in this network. A significant reach right there. What's the plan specifically for the future of this partnership?
Yeah. So for Geleximco, they are one of the top like conglomerate in Vietnam. Their business span across many industry. They have their own bank. They have invested in a lot of like real estate project. They also build one of the major airport in Vietnam. Yeah, so the scope of the Geleximco is huge. But
it really is. It's like all these verticals in one.
Yeah, that's true. So for the potential, we can easily see the potential, but again, think big and start small. So we are doing from what is clearly beneficial for both of us first. So
and is it going well? The progress you're making?
Yes. Theirs will be materialized in July. I hope so. There will be something like material in July, and we still are for I want to make sure that everything we do with Geleximco is in line with what we're doing right now. For example, the ID or the EKYC for the bank. Yeah, that kind of thing. It's all related. Also for real estate, we are exploring, but again, I want to focus on something that is helping on the current product to move in one direction.
And just looking at the scope of this as well, I mean, it's really significant just how the breadth and the scope of this is. And I like that you're focusing on vertical step by step. And July, as you mentioned, more's coming. Now, the telecom partnership, you don't want to tell me too much, I know, Tree, but tell me what you can. What's going on there with the gateway?
So the gateway is we building for them the platform for the payment gateway for them. And what I can tell you is
tell me what you can, because even the fact that it mentions that it reaches across the 100 million population, I mean, that's big. So
yeah, because it's available for all the subscriber of the telecom company, and they can use their mobile balance. So they need to top up first. They need to top up their mobile balance first, and then we provide like SDK for all the merchant. For example, if you have a website that you sell like merchandise online, for example. So if you have a website, you just need to register with the payment gateway. We provide you the SDK and the API key, and then you can put on your website a little button that's let's say pay me or something, and then the user press that button. They need to confirm with their mobile if they're using laptop. If they use their own like on the smartphone, they don't need to confirm. They anything just to refresh it, and then that's it. They pay for it.
So you're going to provide the tooling, the SDK, for arguably one of the largest, if not the largest, telco service indirectly, and have a gateway built in. That's a big deal. I'm looking forward to learning more about that. I won't push you on it. I know you don't want to tell me too much. Now, mass adoption, it is your core agenda. And statements you've made before are things like, we are tapping into the non-crypto user base. And I like that focus, because that's where the adoption comes. It's not necessarily into that crypto sort of bubble that we're safely in speculating. So just in that sense, with revenue, are you making revenue in that context today? Or is that something that's coming forth as you hit MainNet targets in the future? I mean, just tell us a little bit more about real adoption, that non-crypto approach, and are you achieving revenue at all yet?
So the revenue we are getting is from the revenue sharing with our partner. For example, if the on-spot app get any revenue, we get some from that, and also the payment gateway as well. Yeah. So that how we can get revenue from the from my partnership.
Right. So you do have revenue, which is important. But what are your thoughts on this non-crypto approach? Obviously, we've touched on it right through the interview, but are you confident that's the right tactic and that it's working?
Yes, because you see, if I see most of the people in the crypto world, they are buying token to speculate. That thing, yeah, to speculate. So they want to buy low and sell high, that kind of thing.
Yes.
And the only thing that help the project to gain value is that you offer some is that there's more people that buy your token to use.
Now, one of the things I wanted to ask you is, does it concern you at all, Tree, that there is this prominence of speculation out there in the crypto sphere? There is this desire to, essentially promo to FOMO to lead into increasing prices. Does that, the fact that these exist on all the exchanges that you do have currently listed, does it concern you as you're trying to build real utility?
I don't think so, because you can see, I see some of the discussion about, let me just give example for so easier to understand. So I see some of the discussion around the youth union app. So some people say it's just basically a airdrop application. So where the young people got in, get into the app, do something, and then they get rewarded, and then they immediately sell the token. Yeah, so that will bring no value to the project or to the whole ecosystem. But the thing here is that the model here is actually the blockchain and token, they enhance the relationship between the organization and its members. So the most of the, I think 99% of the user of the app is they not familiar with crypto. So the way we go, they will get some kind token, and then they need to create an account on a chain, and they just to get in there and sell like $10 worth of the token. I think that really small chance. So the thing they want is they want to convert the token into some reward that they like. For example, a sneaker.
Yes, and you make a good point there with reward being the key word, because we've seen these kinds of
But the key thing here is that where the reward coming from. It's not from the enterprise. It's not entirely from the organization. Yeah, because they have limited budget. They don't have like unlimited budget to give all the student the reward. It's coming from brands,
right?
From sponsor. Yeah. So there's so many brands that want to get in touch with the young people, the young population, and they have limited channel. For example, they need to go to Facebook and is spend a lot of on advertising, and it's just impressions advertising, and it's like pay per click advertising.
Got it. So essentially, in that context, the reward aspect, the incentivization aspect is the key, for the uptake from those cohorts, those groups of people. Now, one of the other things in terms of use case of the token I want to touch on is with regard to clients, because it's mentioned that transaction fees and licensing fees are built in when it comes to onboarding clients into your network. So can you just touch on that as well? Since we're talking about the token modeling and we're talking about the context of how the token's used, does that fit in with this use case?
With the use case, you mean the youth union?
Clients. Well, just more generally, the way that
okay. So the business model here is that the client will use the private chain solution, maybe from Kadiachain or maybe from the MainNet chain of LG.
Right.
So they use their private chain, and they also need to stack some Kai in order to operate the Kai dual node connection between the private chain to the other public chain.
Okay.
So that the key model here.
So in that sense, they have to use Kai. There's no option. with regard to having access.
If they want to provide the transparency, which they really want, to provide the transparency and trust to their client.
Okay, and obviously that's because of the nature of blockchain and the traceability aspects of it. Okay, now one of the things I also want to touch on with the advisors, you have a new advisor built in to your advisor team. Now, some questions always come up whenever I see blockchain-related advisors. We see the likes of people like Anchor, Metadium, and even an accelerator in Korea represented. But I don't want to focus on that too much. We just see that happening. What I was more interested actually was with those significant parties in Vietnam, those either government-related or enterprise-related advisors that you're onboarding. And a new one recently, as I understand, was related to the taxi and transportation system, among others. So I wanted to talk to you about those. How important are having these advisors in your team? Do they do real work? Are they continuing to really show their value?
So I will just focus on the new advisor, Mr. Hui from the MainNet company, right?
Okay. We can start there.
Okay. We start there. So he is actually a good friend of my family, and and so they have they working on everything related to transportation. From taxi to like provide how to say like interconnect on the city in Vietnam with their transportation. So the what he want to do here is that he want to apply blockchain into a new like decentralized initiative of the company. I'm not sure it is available to review yet, but I will just put it here.
Right. So it's a big deal. I mean, if he's representing that kind of industry, the transportation industry, that arguably lends itself for traceability, tracking, great use case. But when I hear from you things like, oh, he's a family friend, my immediate concern is this someone who came to you because of just a connection that you knew? Or is Kardia actually engaging in actually seeking out these reciprocally beneficial partnerships? That's the thing I really want to make sure that's happening, because obviously you want to build this out and you want to make sure. But is it by circumstance or is it active consultation that's happening?
Okay. So it's a good question. So but I let look at it this way. So if he agreed to be the advisor just because he's a good friend of my family, he's not been on the list of advisor from day one. It's like from 2 years ago.
Right.
Yeah. But the thing is, he's a real business person, and he he doesn't want to just like be there and support and not just for show.
Yep, I understand.
He doesn't want to do that. Yeah.
Right.
And he waited like 2 years and to see how my business actually do.
And I think that's very prudent of him to do that.
And right now he said that, okay, I can see you did a lot of things with other partner. You have real product, and do you want to expand to that kind of business? I have some potential collaboration in this transportation industry, and let's do this.
And it's great to see.
And it's how it's go. Yeah.
And it's great to see that, regardless of the family connection, that this is about really a business partnership, essentially, where he's connected to that business. Now, other advisors, if we could just touch on those for a moment as well. From doctors all the way down, you have interesting members as well, key researchers and mathematicians from Matt Nieberg all the way to Martin Juilliard, and then those key doctors and advisors in Vietnam. How important is it to have these advisors, this number? Because obviously there's a sort of a kickback for them. There's that they do real work. I would assume that there is. But do they consistently do work with you? or was it something like where you saw with other IEOs and ICOs where they did it for a short period of time, reap the benefit,
okay.
or is it continued support all the way through?
Okay, so let me be a bit honest here. So for the you can see for the 2 doctors that come from the government.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, he's not like actively working with us, because it's not something like he's I mean actively here is that he will ping us every day. It's about the policy, the direction that we is going. So anytime that we hit with some like critical decision that involve like macro level policy, we come to consult. Yep. and he give our advice. He point out to some major contact in order to get more information on that. That's how the 2 advisors from the government work. It's not like he's been here all day and babysitting us.
Sure.
That's what I mean from not actively.
Got it. Yeah. And that's really the way it should be, because it's really about trying to make sure you chose the right people to essentially enable Kadiachain to prosper with different sort of, I guess, key players in different industries. And one of them is really the government. You need that inroad, and those parties sort of, they provide that advisory role in the government sector. So that makes a lot of sense. Now, with regard to upcoming partnerships, I know you're uncomfortable probably about this, but what can you tell us about some of the things you don't want to tell us about with regard to anything that is coming in the pipeline, including exchanges? So at the moment, having had a look at this, you have Galaxy, Gate.io, IDEX, and even Hotbit. The majority is on Galaxy still, and it moves down from there. So are you planning on increasing liquidity with other exchanges? Again, that's kind of a hype question. I'm not going to deny that. People want to know that. Will there be increases with liquidity because of new exchanges coming this year? And also, are there any other partnerships outside of exchanges as well?
I see. So, for exchanges, I think we are working to get to cover a more like diverse population. If we so that the key point when I'm looking at the exchange, just in order to cover a more like
more global,
bigger, more global population. So, but for the partnership, we still want to focus on there will be some football related partnership.
Okay, so football related. What else is coming?
The football related partnership is actually very interesting because I am sponsored. I'm personally sponsor some of the football related activity. I own a football team, and then one day I met with this kind of one of the top like coffee manufacturer.
Okay.
That is really interesting because they also sponsor the Vietnam national football team.
Right.
And I'm interested into that because like because football player, they don't drink coffee.
No, they don't. Right? Not maybe not in Asia anyway. Perhaps the ones in Europe do.
So I'm really interested in their strategy when they sponsor the national team.
Okay.
But they are coffee manufacturer. So
I
and
see.
then is So
you're starting to think more about other enterprises because of the connections that you have, because of the relationships you have, also with football.
It just come to me. It's not like I'm really
got it.
actively,
okay, so let's just
look for this one. Yeah.
So it's just one, as a conversational piece. Really, that's not confirming anything in the future. But what I want to pull it back to is some of those real things that you in the pipeline now, though, Tree, with you and your team. Let's go back to the exchanges for a moment, because there's no doubt you're thinking about more global reach. You already said that. We already see that there's potential significantly for more in certain regions, especially in the US, perhaps even in some regions of Europe as well. So are you going to list on other exchanges? Are you interested in doing that? Is there dialogue happening? Is there planning happening? What can you tell us?
We definitely working on exchange listing. Yeah, because I think it's a constant thing to do. You need to expand the reach of the community. The bigger, the better. Yeah.
Right. And just in terms of, let's pull back and move away from the exchanges to more of the partnerships that excite you, that interest you, beyond the coffee speculation. Obviously that's interesting, but is there anything else coming that we should, prepare for with regard to Kadiachain and some of those exciting, developments?
Yeah, but sport, the football and e-sport is one of the, I think one of the exciting business that we coming up next.
Okay.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for more there. Now, token metrics, I need to touch on that. Recently, you released an article on this. Circulating supply, let's just touch on this, because one of the issues is that CoinMarketCap are not disclosing and not showing all of the information for some reason yet. Hopefully that is updated. But you have been transparent as a team, releasing articles as well. So it says that 25% of the CERC is the CERC supply of the total supply, which is roughly about 1.2 billion for the CERC supply, I think, of the 5 billion Kai, that's the total. The IEO was 15%. Now, what I really wanted to know was more about the unlocked tokens. Having had a look at the graph that's provided, a lot of the unlocked tokens, happen around about 221, 222. A lot of them, but right now less so. So are you concerned at all about unlocked tokens in the token metrics more generally, as you continue to just essentially unlock more over the course of the next few years?
Yeah, I think the unlocked token is really needed over the next 2 years, because we will be seeing a lot of demand from the user as well. So you can see there is 10% of the ecosystem token like unlocked. Right. In the together with the 15% from public sale. So
that's for 5 years, isn't it?
Yeah.
Block,
so yeah, and
or was that the block reward?
No. I mean, let's take a look at the Youth Union app as an example. So when the other businesses and the brand that they want to get involved into the user of the app, they need to buy some Kai in order to give out to reward the missions, the tasks that related to their brand. That's where they get sponsor and exposure to the member. So that's where the token is needed. Yeah.
So what I really wanted to ask you though, Tree, was what are you concerned at all about making sure the switch can happen, so that as there's greater unlocks over the course of the next few years, that it will meld or marry with increasing utility and increasing adoption of the token, because that's going to have to happen for this to be really a really successful transition.
Yes, yeah. I'm confident about that, because you see, we're working on this project for over 2 years now. It's not like we just started. So over the last 2 years, we're doing a lot of preparation to lay out the foundation for everything for the adoption happen today.
Right.
Yeah. So that's why I'm confident about it. This is the time that it's not like we're looking for opportunity anymore, but we actually implement what we already have.
And what's interesting is, if you look at the chart, 221 across to 222 is going to be the really big test for the utility and mass adoption push, because that's the time when there's a spike in the unlocked. amount of tokens over the course of the next few years. Right now, it's roughly moving towards that 20% mark. So a lot of work to do in the future, but it does sound like you are also planning ahead for that and making sure that once again that adoption does really happen in Vietnam. So, and also thank you for releasing that token metrics information. I'll put a link below to make sure people can read through that. Now, here's some tough stuff I want to touch on just quickly. Now, there was a lot of criticism recently in the crypto space, in this crypto sphere, about the potential risk of what we know as shill groups, or those pump and dump groups. And there was also questions about whether or not there was some promo to FOMO and then lead to dump of the Kai token. Are you concerned at all that that's happening? Are you concerned at all that it did happen? Is there risks involved in just the nature of crypto itself, especially with low caps like Kadiachain, essentially as it's been? I really wanted to touch on that and get your feedback on that and how you deal with this.
So the question is about if there is pump and dump happen and will happen. Right?
Exactly. And it can be more general, or you can actually address it directly if you think that there's some stuff going on with Kai. But it's really just important for me to address this directly with you because there's questions that do come from the community as well.
Okay, so because my focus is I'm not to be honest, I'm not really pay a lot of attention to the price of the token,
right? Because
for me, will be short term, and what we need to do is not like to prevent the shield group or something, because I think that the most effective way to do that is that I'm actually focusing on the real business and get more and more people on on the blockchain.
So essentially you don't really engage in the speculative aspects of this and all the risks inherent with just the way things organically evolve in different groups. And that makes a lot of sense. I just wanted to get your feedback. Do you think that anyone in your team's aware of this kind of thing though? That sometimes shill groups do emerge, they do try to essentially pump and dump different coins. Obviously, it happens in the space more generally.
Yeah, I do have member in my team to take a look at that, making sure that all the information is correct. Yeah. That's the key thing. My member involved that to make sure that all the information involved Kadiachain, involved any member of the team, the advisor, the partner, circulating around in the community is correct.
Okay. Now another tough question I want to ask you is with regard to team access to tokens and risk of dumping. Again, we're just being very direct here. So I wanted to ask you about that because some FUD has come out with different groups and with different startups. I'm not suggesting it necessarily happened with Kadiachain, but I wanted to ask you as CEO, are there any risks, do you think, with regard to teams having access to any unlocked tokens where they could essentially dump? And is there any monitoring anyway, as unlocked tokens are released into the ecosystem?
The team token will be unlocked after 1 year from the list. So it's around April next year. Mm-hmm. So that's when the team token get unlocked, and there is no there is no team that get accept from the unlocked token until then.
I see. Yeah. So they're quite secure. Is there anything outside of the team tokens, for example, whether it be ecosystem or community tokens, is there anything that is getting unlocked this year that we should know about?
Yeah. So for community is the community token is the allocation of 5% that we unlock in July. Mm-hmm. After 3 months from the listing day. So that 5% of the community token is unlocked in July, and the community token is actually some of the will be given to the community based on some of the party and other activity that happened in the last year. Okay. In mostly in Korea, it's like kind of arrow. Yeah.
Okay, so it's like an airdrop to distribute more Kai in those regions. Now, another tough question. This is really tough because it's directed at you specifically. You know, there were suggestions, you know, also involvement with either the CEO or other parties with other groups that were perhaps not contextualized in the right light. Let's just say that. I don't like to use any other more direct words, or maybe we should. But I wanted to ask you, were you involved, or was anyone in the team involved prior to Kadiachain with any startups that failed or that were considered to be less than transparent?
I think is that something related to Twitter?
I actually just read it as a question in the Telegram. That's literally where I got it from. So
okay.
I'm just relaying that as someone who's trying to get information from the source.
Yeah, I see. So how do you define related?
Well, you know, again, my role is to make sure that we're trying to, you know, sort of dig deep into sort of any possible community concern. Cool. So my question is your background. Was there anything in the background you want to address with regard to?
Okay. So the one thing that I can confirm is that no member of my team, including me, is working or have worked for any of other crypto projects.
Right. Okay. And my apologies for being so direct.
That's the thing. No, that's fine, because I also want to mention is that is really funny because there is one time that I saw on Twitter that someone mentioned that I involved into some scam, like ICO scam.
Well, I didn't want to use that word, but that was the reference.
That's quite funny because I actually deleted the retweet, the tweet, but it says something like the Sentinel, if I remember correctly, Sentinel ICO. It's back in early 2018.
Right.
I think around March or April 2018, because at the time I were invested in that ICO. I don't remember if it's a reference from my friend.
Well, perhaps it was. And Sentinel, as my understanding, was an Asian project and ICO. And, you know, let's just stop there because you've been transparent about this anyway. You know, you're more than transparent than you need to be. And I respect it. And I do apologize if I have come across too direct, but it is something that the community do want to know. And you clearly answered it. So you have invested in ICOs. You're only working solely and wholly with Kadiachain, and, you know, made it very clear as a CEO. So thank you. Now, some other tough stuff that I wanted to touch on are things like the token. Now, we talked about the token metrics. We talked a lot about the whole architecture, the design, all of the different prominent products, all the different partnerships. But can you just touch on this one question of why you absolutely need to have this token, especially when, you know, potentially there's payment systems built in from on-ramping through fiat? Just really nail sort of the question, if you can, on why Kai needs to exist, not just Kadiachain.
So Kai is the native token of Kadiachain, and it really necessary to have Kai in the ecosystem in order to regulate the network, to secure the network, not just for the on-chain activity, but also for the cross-chain operation between everything. What we do now is actually to increase the utility of Kadiachain token, of Kai token. But the core use of the token is still to pay for like smart contract deploy, to build the app on top of that, to connect, to secure the cross-chain communication between private and public chain. So that is the main use.
And that's a big deal. That's what I really wanted to hear, because really essentially it's about securing the network and also working much like gas, you know, in the sense of trying to make sure that the robustness of the the network is maintained through Kai, because otherwise, if it was just solely payment systems, for example, rewards, it wouldn't actually offer the complete package when it comes to a utility token model. So you do have it, and you made that clear. Now, with regard to wash trading versus market making, this is another tough question, but obviously there's a lot of different plays made in crypto. There's a lot of contentious behavior as well, a lot of questionable conduct when it comes to market manipulation. Does any of that concern you at all when you see this happening in crypto?
So wash trading is something that we definitely don't do. We don't involve in wash trading. So
right.
That's the first thing. But on the different exchange, I think that's unfortunately that a common practice in crypto. And for wash trading and fake volume and stuff like that. But I don't want to go deep into that. But,
yeah, and I don't want to either. I just want to hear your opinion, because it is something that must be frustrating for a CEO, because sometimes you see tokens that are clearly not necessary do extremely well in terms of price appreciation, simply because of these kinds of things happening. So I just wanted to get some reassurance from you, of the legitimacy of the focus on the utility, and also your feedback. You've made it clear you're not engaging in wash trading, which is important. Now, marketing strategies, I wanted to ask you about that, because whilst, as you said, adoption is important, having the right blockchain architecture is important, having the whole sophisticated sort of network built in, you still have to be known, you have to market well. So do you have a long-term marketing strategy built into your whole initiative in your project?
Yes, actually. And so the main strategy of marketing strategy of Kadiachain can be broken into two parts. So the first is the B2B, so business to business marketing, and that where we get involved into like official forum. It's not online forum, but the physical one that we involved in, like newspaper, editing, posting the news, and like we involved with professional community in order to spread the blockchain awareness. Also, that we have a lot in selling Kadiachain solution to businesses.
Right.
For B2B, we're also working with like direct marketing. So we get referral from personal and also professional network, and work directly with some of the decision maker from different enterprise. We also have the community building. So the community in my view is they have different type of community. The community working where I'm talking about is either like a very small compact community of business owner,
right,
of the CTO of different company that we get involved, and we periodically we do meet up from time to time to get updated from what happened in the industry, what is the current problem, and how blockchain can solve it. So that the B2B strategy is mostly from direct marketing and like referral, word of mouth. So for the B2C business to customer marketing, what we do is the thing you can see is we cooperate with a marketing campaign from our partner, because they also need to sell the new blockchain feature and to sell their product and service to their user. So we just leverage on that for the first part. Second part is we do have another type of community that is the developer and also any people interested in blockchain and blockchain application in Vietnam. we have a private group on Facebook that have over 40,000 members.
Oh wow!
That actively posting about, because in Vietnam we use Facebook a lot. We don't really do Telegram.
Okay.
So actively posting about what going on in their city, in their region. What is the most what is the conversation about blockchain and token and everything. So that way I got a lot of update from the market, because so I cannot.
Sure. So just to recap, you have, marketing well and truly down pat. You focusing on marketing for different communities as well, from the enterprise community, from dev communities, from crypto communities, and even, beyond that as well, with perhaps, communities I haven't even referenced, or specific ones targeting certain products as well. So it's great to hear that you're taking this really seriously, because that's what enterprises also do, and you're acting very much in that same frame as a company. So congratulations for all that planning forward. You also have some strong crypto communities as well, some very active, very enthusiastic crypto communities as well that very much support Kai, and no doubt that's a boon for you as well to be noticed in that frame, albeit speculative, but still there. Now, in terms of the final point, if people want to know more about Kai or Kadiachain or all of the developments related to it, where's the best place to go as well, Tree, to learn more?
Sorry, the signal got a little
my apologies. So the question was, where's the best way, or what's the best way to go and get more information about Kadiachain? Just to finish off and wrap up the interview, if people want to inquire and find out more, what's the best way to do that?
So again, it depends on the person. So if he's a crypto crypto savvy, you can go to the Telegram group, our Telegram announcement, get more frequent update. Our Medium as well. Our website is for more general purpose of a person if they not really know about blockchain or crypto community. You can go to the website and Medium. Also, if there's completely non-crypto people, he can also join the Facebook community to learn about blockchain in Vietnam in general, and also Kadiachain update.
Got it. Well, I'll try and put all of those links, including those non-crypto links, which I've never actually done before, in the description below. So I'll have to get that one off you. And congratulations also for building that kind of depth of community, because that is quite rare, even today, as we're trying to achieve mass adoption for different crypto startups and their tokens. So, it is great to see that is development that's real. Now, just one last thing to finish off for you, Tree, as the CEO, what excites you most with regard to Kadiachain and what you've achieved thus far?
So what excites me a lot is that where you got a product or services that related to Kadiachain that really get into the hand of the user. So that what excited me the most. Recently, I joined an event of the Youth Union that I think is also posted in our Medium already. So during that event, I actually went to a high school. I don't remember when the last time I went to high school. So I went to high school. I met the high school student. I see all the young people that having the app on their hand, and I was surprised that they really quick on that. It's like they don't need any tutorial at all. Just this is the link, and then I see the Youth Union staff still explaining on the presentation, and I already see the student filling on the information to get the ID, get the QR code, and they show to each other, and they already explore what the reward inside. So they super fast on that.
That's awesome
That's the
because
thing I say, yeah.
and it's awesome because it's a bit like seeing a teacher, watch their students learn, or a parent watching their children, engage in something really productive. It must be the same for you as a CEO, because you're starting to see, as you mentioned, real adoption, real use, and where the blockchain is underneath. It's the invisible layer, and these people, these students, are engaging in something real. And that really is, the crux of this interview today as well. You've really showcased that mass adoption is a key point for you to address, and as you move forward, and you're certainly forging really significant partnerships in Vietnam and even beyond abroad with the likes of LG and many others. So thank you very much as the CEO, Pham, for your time today. Hopefully we can catch up again in the future, but for now, hopefully all those listeners, have learned a little bit more about Kadiachain for 2020. And once again, thank you very much for your time.
Okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Brad. Okay.
You're very welcome.